Every year, fishing gear is lost in our oceans due to storm activity, boat traffic, and gear abandonment. Derelict fishing gear haunts our oceans, catching all kinds of marine animals in its path. This is called ghost fishing, and it is a global problem. Everyone is impacted by ghost fishing, and there are many players involved in finding a solution. Here's one perspective.
My name is Bryan Eure. I'm a Fisheries Enforcement Officer for the North Carolina Marine Patrol. I've worked in this role for 22 years, primarily here in New Hanover County, as well as Brunswick and Pender counties. My experience with fishing nets is, over the course of my career, over 20 years, a large role in my job is to enforce the rules and regulations that govern the net, all net fisheries. In that time, I've enforced the rules with trawl nets as well as gill nets, everything from small mesh spot nets to large mesh flounder nets. Nets impact my work on a daily basis. Most recently, the federal government has issued an incidental take permit, or ITP for short, to North Carolina in reference to the large mesh gill net industry and its interaction with sea turtles. This affects me as a Marine Patrol officer. Each week, officers are required to do a minimum of one gill net observation to stay in compliance with this ITP, which we go out and monitor the interactions between sea turtles and large mesh gill net fishery. All fisheries in North Carolina are very important. If you go by landings in 2016, blue crabs were the #1 as far as amount of landings. It was 24.7 million pounds of blue crabs landed in North Carolina in 2016, using primarily crab pots for that fishery. Secondly, the shrimp was 13.2 million pounds of shrimp landed, primarily trawl nets in that fishery, and followed by various types of finfish that use a large various type of gear, gill nets, trawl nets, as well as hook and line. Locally, for example, the large mesh gill net fishery, it's broken into North Carolina up into 5 management areas. Those management areas determine attendance, days that nets can be set, as well as times that nets can be left. Each of those is managed by area. The area I primarily work in is Management Area E, which is Highway 58 bridge just north of Swansboro to the South Carolina state line. In Management Area E, it's the open period for large mesh gill net is an hour before sunset each evening, and to be picked up no later than an hour after sunrise, and that's Sunday through Thursday nights for that fishery. Gill nets are marked in North Carolina by 2 yellow buoys on each end, and those buoys will have the fisherman's information, the first 2 initials and last full name, as well as the NC numbers of the vessel they use to fish that gear. That's how we can locate whose gear it is if it is left behind. Also, you can see the 2 yellow buoys and know that there's usually a gill net in between those two buoys. There are several ways gear can become lost. Theft can be an issue, as well as storms. Inclement weather can cause gear to become lost. Interactions with large mammals, large animals in the ocean, as well as even boaters. Accidental collisions with gear all those can cause gear to be lost. Early on in my career, there was a lot more gear that was found abandoned and gill nets lost. In recent years, North Carolina has made great measures to increase management in the gill net fishery. It's very rare that gill nets are left unattended, if at all, for very short periods of time. And if it is, like I said, it's for very short periods of time, so the likelihood that gear is going to become ghost fishing gear is unlikely. There are no rules in North Carolina that require fishermen to report lost gear. Usually, fishermen will contact their local Marine Patrol officer to report lost gear because they're hoping to recover that gear. Marine Patrol officers, regularly and routinely in their job, that we recover gear that's abandoned, lost, as a part of our job every day. I care greatly about North Carolina's fisheries resource. That's why I chose this career, and I definitely don't want to see any ghost gear in the water that can impact any of our fisheries negatively. It's important to prevent ghost fishing, to protect our natural resource, our fisheries here in North Carolina, as well as maintain clean waterways for the boating public. As far as how that can be done, North Carolina's already made great strides in their management. I think we do a great job, and I've seen it over my career. It's greatly reduced the amount of ghost gear that we find in the water. Solutions to ghost fishing gear starts, of course, with regulation through North Carolina. We've done our part on the management, on the net industry. Other things that can be done is increased diligence on the part of the fishermen to maintain contact with their gear, to remove it in times of inclement weather. Also, cautiousness on the part of the boating public to make sure there's no accidental collisions with gear that can cause them to become lost or ghost gear. Fisheries regulators are part of the solution for ghost fishing gear because through us ensuring compliance of North Carolina's fisheries rules and regulations, it greatly reduces the amount of time that this gear is left alone, if at all, in North Carolina's waters. So it greatly reduces the chance of them becoming ghost fishing gear.